Campaigns normally want to have an organized group for purposes of pushing on their agenda. It happens that our churches, by their nature, form that kind of platform. That anytime I go to a church and I happen to be friendly to the bishop, automatically the following of the bishop is likely to come to my side.
When you say friendly, it means you have to buy that.
To a large extent. And that's why you see anytime we go to church, politicians would always pretend to be holier-than-thou when they're in charge. Basically because this is a very good platform as a result of you relating well with the bishop. But what has happened, and I think the problem is we tend to forget too soon. If you remember, is it late last year, when the bishops using the pulpit were saying the kind of leadership they are seeing in Kenya is not the kind of leadership they prayed for. You can remember that time, that what we are seeing is what we prayed for. And some is like we're regretting why they pleaded with God to provide this kind of leadership. Now here they are today, some seem to have forgotten that soon, that really things are not working well. And if I were a bishop today, what I would be doing is I would be listening to the voice of the people I lead. Because they say the voice of the people is, in most cases, is the voice of God. And I can tell you for sure, Fred, I don't think whether I've traveled around, attending some political rallies at times on my own, and in most places I've gone, forget about our region, which normally would be not be talking well of Ruto anyway. We don't seem to support him much. But even in other areas where his strongholds, I can tell you for sure, people are expressing very genuine concerns about this leadership. And that's why I'm saying the church might want really to have that ad hoc union with the state, and in most cases is that state. And that's why you see the Catholic Church, through their bishops, have come out clearly. And they have stated some bare minimum requirements that as a church, we are not going to tolerate 1, 2, 3 for purposes of the people we lead and for purposes of the God we worship. But I think the so-called, as where I come from, we call them, we don't give some of these churches very good names, and we call them funny names. I don't know, maybe Mweshima will help me. It's well said when said in my mother tongue, but not English. But it's like, we saw these droppings of some of these churches, the churches just drop. You find we have a whole bishop, but he has only two churches outside his own church. Because in the mainstream churches, you find for you to become a bishop, it takes a lot of time. And that's why you see you must mature to a level that really you have been tested. And that is also biblical. If you look at the Bible, it says you should not hand over leadership to newly converted Christians, to new convertees, people who have just been converted a year or two, because they are likely to slide back to where they came from and mislead the congregation. So some of these things are very biblical, and that's why we really want to plead with the church, that the church is supposed to be one of the arms which provides checks and balances to the governing team. Because if you let them free, then you'll have no voice of reason. And bearing in mind that the so-called parliament, which is supposed to be another voice of reason, seems to have some challenges, and then the church will have that same challenges, the country is done.
Right. Pulpit arrogance, they call it, on the front page of the Standard. As millions of Kenyans battle high cost of living, President Ruto has splashed 140 million shillings on churches in just a week. Protests erupted in Nairobi yesterday and were met with a brutal police crackdown as furious Kenyans questioned whether these donations reflected generosity or a blatant display of political excesses amid economic turmoil. That's a big discussion going forward, the president's relationship